Hello and welcome to another episode of Mews R&D MiniPodcast. Today with Ondra Heřmánek. Hi, Ondra.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, pleasure. So why I invited you today is to tell us a little bit about the story of an engineer being for quite a long time in the company. And I would like to go through all the stages of where you were, because I think it's pretty unique, because there were, some obvious paths for you, and then there were some less obvious. So maybe let's start with the beginning. Okay. How did you get to Mews, when it was, and what influenced it?
Yeah, I basically knew Honza and Jirka,
the original
Jirka Helmich and Honza Široký from college, from Matfis Charles University, and we were classmates, so we were having common classes. We were even working on a project, like it was software project. And it was a group of 5 people working together to deliver something during the semester. And Honza Široký was working at Mews at the time, so he started recruiting us.
Well, he was like one of the first or second engineer he was, right?
Yes.
In the company. So you were then third to join, or?
I think there were a couple of developers that just did something and left. I was the third that stayed for a longer time.
Who stuck. So out of the 5 people in that group, all of them started in Mews eventually?
4 of us.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, good average.
You didn't manage to hire the 5th one?
We didn't want to.
Okay. So you're joining the company, which basically is non-existent. There is no product. Was there already a line of code when you joined?
Oh yes, like both Honza and Honza. They were. I joined like 9 months after they started, so there was lots of code, and I joined basically a started train.
So when did the first hotel go live?
I joined in 2013, so I think it was 2013 end of close or like autumn.
So how hectic it was? Did you have any experience of working before?
Yeah. I work in 2 companies, just part-time by school, one day a week. This was my first full-time.
And was it full-time from the beginning, or you also started kind of like
I think 3 days, 4 days a week during the school, but then I transitioned to school to full-time.
And you joined as a backend engineer, or how it was? Was it like a classic startup full stack, or how did it look at the beginning?
Yeah, I joined as a backend engineer. One of the Honzas was full stack. So I was at some point I was also called Honza by Richard's father because it was easier for them to remember just one name.
Nice.
But one of the Honza was a full stack. But so he wrote one piece that was supposed to look nicer. It's the timelines where the hotels can see who is coming where in which room, and the rest of it was backend because at that time it was much faster for us to write new features.
So you are now basically the person that knows the most about this system. Would you still think that, or because at least by the time you spend here, the code base, because when you started there was no code base. Now we have a lot of depth. So thank you for the depth.
My pleasure. Like people think so that I still know the most. I think I have a vast overview of what's happening where. I don't know definitely the details. I know that there are experts in their area, so if I need to deal with something, I know who to go to. So that's I guess the benefit I have. If I know where to look at, and I know who to ask to look deeper. So
how did you? What were the next steps for you? So you joined as let's say a junior. Can we call it a junior?
He didn't have. I joined as a developer.
Yeah. And so, what was the kind of next step in your career? Let's put it this way.
Well, it was like we didn't have any structure. We just were programming, and that was it. At some point, Honza Široký made CTO, and we still haven't had any structure.
So it was still basically everybody reporting to him.
Yeah,
in engineering.
But at some point, Jirka joined, Jirka Helmich. So at some point, we were reporting to Jirka because Honza was more into programming, and Jirka was trying to give it bigger structure. The bigger we were, the more it was needed. So yeah, at some point, I we still were developers, and I reported to Jirka. At some point, there were more front-end developers, so I think
it broke down.
To
front end, because I remember the first kind of structure was front end versus back end, right?
Yeah. And at some point, I actually got to be the head of back end because I was the second most senior after Honza.
Well, that's the classic move now in startups. When you're good at it, you start managing it. Like the people. But was that a path for you? I mean, I think I know the answer, but tell us in your words.
I understood the transition, and it was interesting for me to know how to manage people, to learn it. I definitely made a lot of mistakes. I learned that I'm too soft, so I wasn't, I guess, the great boss, but I think I was helping people to grow, which is something that
maybe more like technically, no? It was mainly your kind of domain.
Yeah. Well, I helped them to understand the process, the domain, and everything. I don't think I was the most like technically skilled developer at the time, but I knew how to talk to people. I was patient enough to help them grow.
So when we talk about head of backend, how many people should I imagine in the backend org?
Maybe there was like 20 people at the time,
and they were all reporting directly to you.
No, we had some people were reporting directly, and at that time we already started having teams. So we experimented with the broke down structure. So in some teams where we didn't have anybody to lead it, everybody was reporting to me. In some teams where people were here already for a couple of years, so they were the managers and people were reporting to them.
Do you remember some big changes that happened during your time as a head of backend? Like, where did we move? What did we remove? What did we introduce?
On the backend, nothing changed that drastically. We are still using the same technology.
.NET C#.
We're
all on Azure.
Yeah, exactly. That didn't change much. On front end, it was much more dynamic.
That's true. But speaking of Azure, were you from beginning kind of in touch, or were you working with the cloud yourself, or it was usually the CTO that was working with it, or did you have a kind of experience with all the things that happened there, pipelines, deployment?
Yeah, no, I didn't have experience, but I learned on the fly. I had access to everything, so we were taking turns in taking the deployments. Like usually it was Honza doing it, but he started to shifting something on me as well.
Well, I think it was usually the case that Honza, the CTO, he would deploy. In the morning, we would fix everything, and Honza would come at midday asking, "Is everything okay?" I was like, "Yeah, it is already."
It wasn't like that, but like at that time, we were purposefully deploying in the night because we caused errors. That it wasn't seamless deploy, so it was easier to deploy it in the night because none of the very few hotels were working. We were still in Europe. So as the time went and we were having more hotels in more time zones, we had to figure out how to do it in a non-breaking way, in a seamless way, and then we were deploying during the day.
Sorry to all the people who had the morning shift, who basically were our QA engineers who found the bugs, and we were able to fix it for the afternoon shift.
Yeah.
So, but you didn't stay in the head of backend. So what happened then?
Head of backend for me was a difficult role because I had many direct reports and I was overwhelmed. And at that time, my second daughter was meant to be born. And around that time, I had a one-to-one with Pepa,
our CPTO current.
And we were just chatting, and he was saying that he basically would like to grow somewhere, and then basically for him the next step would be head of backend.
Because he wasn't the CPTO then, he was an engineer.
Yeah, he was leading platform. And so we were chatting, and made sense to me because I wanted to take time off to be at home. He wanted to grow. Honza was okay, so we switched the roles. And basically, it was at the time that the COVID happened.
Mm-hmm. But so Pepa should be grateful to the birth of your daughter for his growth in the company.
Technically, I also hired Pepa.
Nice. Okay, so you're moving from head of backend into what role?
role of the father.
Yes.
I'm joking. Then basically, because of COVID, there was lots of restructuring. So I came back as an engineering manager in one of the teams. So I was still leading a people, but in much like fewer people, and in a narrow area.
And in a domain that you were kind of familiar with, right?
Yeah, the most I would say.
It was the services.
It was the configuration of the hotel. Anything that regards setup of the hotel, setup of the services, prices.
Well, that most people probably deem boring, but you thrived in it.
I understood it.
Nice. And then I think a very interesting thing happens because you move from an engineering manager, so in a role that many people grow into and want to be in, to an engineer. Yeah. How that happened, and how it was for an ego to kind of acknowledge that you would like to do this move, or was it kind of external forces?
It's like the transition still took a couple of years. I even though I was leading people, I still was soft boss. So it was overwhelming for me, and it was after the COVID we started hiring again, and we needed to start new teams. So at some point I was leading my team, and I was also setting up 2 new teams. So basically we hired, I don't know, 10 people was again under me, and I was teaching them the domain so that they can become separate. So it was the team that deals with users, everything about users, and I forgot the last one. But
You've been here way too long. You don't remember everything.
Yeah, it was the portfolio one where we handle the big chains and operations for them.
And this is the time when you go home for a little bit of time off, right?
Yes, I knew I don't want to be manager all the time. So with Marian Kamenišťák, who was our VP at the time, I had an agreement that if I managed to spin those teams and find a replacement manager for me to services, I can take a sabbatical, because I knew I needed it.
Well, that's a good kind of goal for you. Find a replacement for you and you can go home.
Yeah.
And you managed.
I would say so.
Yep. Nice.
The team still exists. The developers I work with are still in the company. So
how long did you take off?
8 months.
8 months. Wow. And was it like time that you spent only with your family, or did you focus on something else as well, or was it how did you structure your time off?
I had a big plans, but I think I started on February. So in March I did nothing, and I realized I need to do nothing. So I enjoyed the 8 months with the family. It was really nice.
Well, I kind of understand this, because it's, when you work in a company like Mews, it's like you basically never stop thinking about it. Even if you don't have to, you still think about, did I do this right? And will it affect other people? Because I think, for people being very long in the company, you have a big sense of responsibility for the people around you.
Yeah, I would say I still do.
Yeah.
I remember it goes with me. I grew with the company.
So you come back, but you don't come back as an engineering manager.
Yeah, that was kind of my condition, and everybody knew it. That I want to come back, but I want to come back as a developer.
Nice.
So I guess 1 month or 2 months before my return date was supposed to be, I started discussing with directors where to go. And basically there were 2 directors fighting for me.
And you landed in connectivity.
I landed in connectivity. It's where I started. Like first lines of the code in Mews I wrote was connecting to channel managers. So it's basically a tool that aggregates all the Booking.coms and Expedias to one single source. So you write a connection to one connection and you get all the sources for free.
Ondra may be saying that he's very soft, and I would agree, because Ondra was always the person I would go to rather than somebody else, because I knew Ondra wouldn't be angry at me. But once you were angry at me, and we still have that message pinned,
yes,
it's in caps lock and it's pinned in our message, and I will cherish that forever. But then you moved into staff engineer. So maybe tell us what is different between a role of a staff engineer and, let's say, a senior engineer.
Yeah, I didn't join as a staff engineer directly. I joined connectivity because there was a big project and they needed my connectivity help. So I helped them, and I guess few months later, the staff engineer position in the tribe was free. So I talked to the director, said I would like to give it a shot. We agreed, and I've been staff engineer since. And how is it? We have two types of staff engineers. One of them is architect and the other one is problem solver. I never was much of a system architect, so I went for the problem solver, which means people ask me when they need to deal with some problem. Since I was at the time the code that's causing the problem was written, and maybe I have written those problems myself, I know where to look at. So nice. that was kind of the natural progression for me.
Well, let's see what role will be next. So maybe we can meet in 10 more years and you will tell me how it moved from there. So Ondra, thanks very much, and congrats on the career in Mews.
Thank you. It was lovely to chat with you.
Right, and see you next time. As always, if you are working in Mews, you can talk to us in Slack. If you're not, reach out to us on LinkedIn. Are you on LinkedIn?
Yes.
You respond on LinkedIn?
No.
Okay, so write to me. Right, see you next time.